Good evening and welcome to Business PNG. This week brought a plethora of news from global conglomerate General Electric in Papua New Guinea. Business PNG had a quick chat with the company's Vice Chairman, John Rice, upon his visit to the country recently. Thank you, sir, so much for your time. Welcome to Papua New Guinea.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts on Papua New Guinea and our investment environment?
Well, we like Papua New Guinea. We've been here for a long time. We, several years ago, opened up a representative office and hired a great leader and are developing a team so that we can be more present here and also understand better exactly what the requirements are and how a company like GE can help. So this is, in many respects, the next phase of our set of activities in Papua New Guinea.
Okay, all right. Moving straight along, GE's V-Scan is a game-changing piece of equipment in developing countries, especially in PNG, where around 80% of our population are in rural areas. Can you give us some progress report on GE's V-Scan here in Papua New Guinea or in developing countries overseas?
It's a little early here to capture data from the evaluation, but what we've seen in other countries is a dramatic reduction in at-risk pregnancies because they're identified earlier. The V-Scan basically replaces the thermometer and other basic health technologies and allows you to see where there's a problem pregnancy, refer that problem pregnancy to a hospital where it can be treated properly. So we've equipped midwives with them in Indonesia, for example, and they were able to do a lot of things to help pregnant women have a better birth and give the child a better chance of living.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So finally, would you have any statistics on GE's V-Scan here in Papua New Guinea?
No, we don't. You just started the test last year. So we don't have statistics yet, but we're so confident in what this technology can do. We're looking at doubling the size of the program, and we're going to evaluate that and potentially make an announcement shortly because we know this will work. We know that the ability to do a basic scan of a pregnant woman and understand the situation of the fetus will allow us to identify problem pregnancies and offer more appropriate treatment. We're confident it will work, so we're going to expand the program and we look for great results. The next generation of the V-Scan will be technology that works on a smartphone.
Okay.
So you'll have a software application for the smartphone and a transducer that plugs into the smartphone with a UBS port equivalent, and that will make it even easier to spread this technology around the world to places where it hasn't heretofore been available.
Okay, all right. Finally, what does the future hold for General Electric in PNG? What are some of the prospective plans that you may have?
Well, we have a great view of the future for our company here in Papua New Guinea because we're concentrating in technology infrastructure businesses, so that's power generation, water purification, healthcare, supporting the oil and gas and mining industries, and those are all activities that are very important to Papua New Guinea. Plus aviation. We are active in the aviation segment. We lease aircraft, we manufacture engines, turboprop engines, and jet engines. So when you look at the infrastructure requirements in Papua New Guinea and you look at what we do as a company, it fits hand in glove.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time, sir. That is all. With an economy that depends on our extractive industries and a government that insists it will sustain through the drop in global oil prices, we discover just how our economy will be affected, if at all. That's after the break. Stay with us.
Papua New Guinea's debt at the end of 2015 was 16.9 billion kina, according to the Bank of Papua New Guinea's press release on the 2016 budget. This amount does not include debts by SOEs which are regarded as off-the-books debts. The government is planning a budget deficit of 2.1 billion kina in 2016. So it has to borrow this money, which will increase the total debt to 19 billion kina, according to Deloitte commentary. Patrick Pruitt's Minister for Treasury's budget speech stated that this will bring the debt to GDP ratio to 35.8%, exceeding the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 35%. The proposed sovereign bond issue is to raise an estimated 3 billion kina. However, it is unclear where this money will come from and whether this money is expected to fund the 2.1 billion kina deficit or add to it. Government revenue from exports continues to decline due to low gas and oil prices, as is the case currently. Then government will need to pass a supplementary budget. If they do, they can borrow more money or cut expenditure. Cutting expenditure would be the wise thing to do. However, with the 2017 elections around the corner, this could prove difficult to do. Experts have predicted that 2016 and 2017 are going to be very difficult for the country. Business PNG recently spoke to the think tank Institute of National Affairs Executive Director Paul Bakker on the issue.
If the government unduly borrows to be able to do that, it will actually be undermining the overall economy, because it will really devalue the value of the whole process, of the debt. Potentially it will make it riskier and increase the risk, perceived risk for that country. But so long as it's within a sustainable level, then government stimulating the economy, providing business activity during downturns is a valid activity. But it's a case of working out what is that sustainable level and not letting it sort of appreciate and become unsustainable. So that's a big challenge. PNG would argue that it had been borrowing and then hadn't expected all the commodity prices to fall so much, and therefore has had to make adjustments as a result of it. But it certainly could be said that the government was being a bit cavalier, was being lacking prudence, and was borrowing more than it should have been, but more particularly that the quality of that expenditure. You know, if you're borrowing, you want to make sure that the money is used for something that's really effective. And while certainly the areas that it was borrowing for, infrastructure, education, these things, broadly very important, it certainly could be said that that some of that infrastructure wasn't of great relevance to stimulating the economy. Clearly, some roads, say in the national capital and elsewhere, being upgraded or built is valuable and can stimulate, but some of those roads really don't seem to have sort of a great deal of relevance. They're not really enhancing traffic movements, and particularly for critical traffic, business traffic and so on. So it's really important that the expenditure is stimulating the economy, for example, by enabling producers to get their produce to the market, where many producers are handicapped at the moment, and that the education it's producing a person who's literate and numerate and is empowered. Lessons are being learnt. This pruning is going on, but it's certainly true that the pruning is pretty heavy, and again, some of the areas that have been pruned are again some of the priorities, and some of the areas that don't look as if they're being pruned seem to still be luxuries rather than necessities for the people of the country, if not. So yeah, and if you're doing things, as I say, on debt, when you're ending up having, as at the moment, to be paying 10% or so of the expenditure is actually just on debt servicing, you want to make sure, one, that you're borrowing as cheaply as possible for a long-term concessional loan, not what you call a concessional loan, but what is actually a concessional loan, and that it's only for priority activities. So.
The country is experiencing a similar economic strain to that of the 90s under the same PNC party leadership, wherein both Prime Ministers Bill Skate then and Prime Minister O'Neill today borrowed large sums of money in view of an expansionary monetary policy and also investing in areas with low returns and no proper timeframes, whilst depending on high commodity prices that didn't happen.
And when, again, it's an interesting scenario because at the moment, you last few years you've had a high GDP growth rate, and it's being stated, well, look, we're stimulating the economy during a downturn. Well, yes, it was not a downturn in terms of GDP, but it was a downturn in employment, because after the construction phase of LNG, there certainly was a formal sector downturn in employment. At the moment, we're experiencing a lot of businesses suffering reduced turnover for a number of reasons. LNG isn't there stimulating, as we say. Low commodity prices across the board. Government effectively, running out of money for a lot of activities, so they're not stimulating the economy to the same extent. So these businesses are then, their turnover, whether they're in retailing or in a range of other businesses, are down, and therefore they're less able to pay taxes as well. So it's a sort of, if one's not careful, it's a bit of a downward cycle, and also because many of them don't have access to foreign exchange. Some of their products, even if they're manufacturing, they will be producing something which includes local ingredients, but also includes some imported ingredients. If you can't pay for the imported ingredients, then the whole process will grind to a standstill. If you can't pay for the technicians to maintain your helicopters or whatever, then, and if you're having difficulties in paying for fuel and so on, if you can't pay for imported products, then again you're going to have your business goes into a downturn. So they can all stimulate each other and drag each other down if one's not careful. But we know that our businesses in a variety of fields have been suffering.
Welcome back. If you can recall, in the past, Business PNG has comprehensively reported on a microfinance expansion project driven by the Bank of Papua New Guinea and the Centre for Excellence in Financial Inclusion, with the support of donors, the Australian government, and the Asian Development Bank. Well, another milestone was achieved last week when NGO World Vision PNG came on board to support the project. Business PNG correspondent Hope Imaka with more.
Financial inclusion is the delivery of effective financial systems. With financial inclusion comes financial literacy, not a common understanding that many people in Papua New Guinea hold. The paycheck-to-paycheck life that most people in Papua New Guinea live has raised concerns with the government of Papua New Guinea, and through its central financial institution, the Bank of Papua New Guinea, rolled out the Microfinance Expansion Project.
To coordinate all the work that is relating to financial inclusion, and therefore in the process you achieve financial or social exclusion in a way. We taking advantage of the fact that there is a very strong move by government, this government, to go into the rural areas, developing parts of the districts and all that. And of course you have a new technological drive through mobile network and coverage into the rest of Papua New Guinea. So our role is to, in the financial sector, is to extend the financial services to those rest of Papua New Guinea.
A key component of the Microfinance Expansion Project is the establishment of the Centre for Excellence in Financial Inclusion, or better known as CEFI. CEFI's objectives are to promote PNG's financial inclusion agenda, to facilitate improvement of financial services delivery, to establish mechanisms for enhanced information exchange, and to promote gender equity in financial services and financial education. CEFI aims to achieve its vision to eliminate financial exclusion for poverty eradication by promoting excellence in financial services, innovating delivery channels, and facilitating financial education. It is designed to coordinate all financial initiatives in PNG.
From the learnings of the first phase, that the government and the Bank of PNG decided that we establish a second phase, which they came up with the microfinance and employment microfinance and expansion project. Microfinance expansion project is basically a multi-pronged approach, looking at the wider players in microfinance sector in PNG. So today we're looking at the industry players like the microfinance institutions, their clients, and the general public, and also looking at the bodies that regulate financial systems in PNG, like Bank of PNG, ICCC, trying to strengthen the system. So it has 6 components. First, second, and third component is basically to do with strengthening the capacity of the microfinance sector or the industry in PNG. Well, firstly, we look at supporting the microfinance institutions, basically the savings and loan societies and microbanks. So currently we have about 8 partners. They are all savings and loan societies and the 5 microbanks that we have in PNG. These are our partners. We support them a lot in terms of providing on-site business mentors that work with them every day, day to day, to ensure that their systems and operations are in order. Any issues with delinquency and all the stuff, the business mentors are on the ground providing that support to strengthen the capacity, internal capacity of those institutions in order so that they provide a service, effective service to the clients. And the second part of that thing is we also provide training via IBBM to the staff of PF of those institutions to strengthen the culture. And also we're looking at there's the supply side of the financial service, microfinance services to our people. But at the demand side, we advocate on financial literacy and financial business involvement skills training. This is one of the major targets where this program or this the MOU today is part of that component.
To date, of the 180,000 target mark, the project has seen 120,000 people trained in financial literacy, of which 50,000 are women. 50 to 60,000 bank accounts have been opened. The project has seen progress in banking the unbanked, creating money-wise citizens. With the recent signing of the MOU between Bank of Papua New Guinea and World Vision on the 15th of March, the project will extend its operations into the autonomous region of Bougainville with further expansion into other centres as well.
As you know, World Vision works in PNG in a number of provinces, and so we have economic development projects underway in Bougainville, but also we've got plans and funding for projects in other areas. And so this is really important to us because we're working with communities, youth, women and men, and developing savings groups as well as economic development projects around small farm holders. And so what we want to do is to enable them to learn how to, if they make money, how do they use that money well? And that's around learning financial literacy.
The partnership between MEP, BPNG and World Vision also seeks to bring together a common curriculum on financial literacy in PNG. Governor Bakani acknowledged other entities that carry out financial literacy courses in the rural areas and to those underprivileged individuals in the country. Recently, the well-known PNG Women in Business Group announced of their focused expansion to underprivileged young women in the community, training young women on financial literacy and basic bookkeeping classes.
There's a good potential for us to, leverage on each other's work and expand financial literacy throughout Papua New Guinea. The other thing we were discussing also is in relation to And we have, through the project, also has been doing that in terms of understanding and assessing. At the end of the day, after you get the person through financial literacy training, if the person is there already and taking positive actions or have a positive attitude towards managing his or her money, how do you assess the benefit really filling down through that person in terms of increasing savings or expanding the business or opportunity to a next level? So that's another thing that we want to get more of it out of the people that we have trained.
And that's Business PNG for Tuesday, the 22nd of March. For more information, if you would like to view this episode again, visit us online at the URL on the bottom of the screen. Or for the latest business news, like our page on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at Business PNG or on Tumblr. Until next Tuesday, enjoy the rest of your week. I'm Leon Jarari, and from us at Business PNG, good night.